But I guess maybe if one or two of you feel strongly about answering that question, just go for it.
I can go. I actually had never thought about applying for eBoard until one of my best friends who was on it really convinced me. It took her a very long time to convince me. But I honestly think I still could have come to where I am today without it. I think just joining the organization and working with kids, you kind of figure out if that's something you want to do. I more joined eBoard because I'm interested in the kind of structure of nonprofits and how they work. I think that's something I want to do in the future is work kind of either for fundraising or development, kind of in the inner workings of the nonprofit. But I think if you're more interested in direct service, teaching, things like that, out of school time programming, you don't necessarily need to be on eBoard. But for me, it was helpful because I made that connection for my fellowship, and you definitely get a little bit more real work skills in terms of communication, email, stuff like that. But obviously, we all have co-op, so I kind of don't need it for that perspective.
I also kind of think of it in terms of skill building too, because you have that direct service, which is so vital. And I like that a lot of e-boarders, they also still stay on the direct service portion of it. Maybe not everybody, but a good number of e-boarders, correct me if I'm wrong, still go out into the schools each week and they volunteer their time to the kids directly, which is awesome. So when I think of my e-board experience, I was only on on-campus affairs, so I did the direct, the university partnership. So I can't really speak to the local school programming side and that, managing a group of people and really getting people excited each week to give up time out of their schedule to go out and put on their best happy faces and really make a kid's day. That's a completely different set of skills and that takes a whole lot. But for the university partnership aspect of it or the on-campus, there's a lot of those, again, those hard skills that you get and those transferable skills about how you communicate and what's etiquette in a professional network, how you're going to manage conflicts between coworkers, how you're going to get people invested and want to make time out of their day to put forward their energy to a project. That also takes a lot of time and energy and practice. And for me, thinking about the role that I play as a coordinator of a program where I'm constantly managing a group of people, a group of 24 kindergartners, and then also managing all this administrative stuff too. I've learned so many of those skills through Peace Through Play. And a lot of that is just stuff that I'm going to use for the rest of my life.
Yeah?
Do you have a specific moment or memory that kind of defined your Peace Through Play experience? That's a yes.
I can't speak again. Somebody else go, but I have so many, but I have the one.
Sounds like a really good one.
Oh, I'm going?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
exactly.
All right. It's actually my very first, I think I've told this the last time, so if you're here 2 years, I apologize. But this was my very first year at Peace Through Play. I had a co-teaching team of 2 other friends and I became very close. I still keep in touch with them. We were in Mr. Carpenter's 2nd grade class at St. Pat's. And I think right now those kids are in middle school. I don't want to think about it. Never mind. Forget it. So we went and it was week 3. I think the theme was differences. And at this point, my co-teaching team and I, we were really tight. And we were okay, what are we going to do? Because so far these kids, they've been through all these themes. They've already done all these activities. They want something different. It just so happened that one of my co-teachers, her mother was deaf. And she knew ASL and her mother's friend was deaf. So somehow the stars aligned and we have now a guest speaker with St. Pat's permission and Mr. Carpenter, who's such a great partner. Honestly, those teacher relationships are key, honestly. So we had this guest partnership and we had this guest speaker come in to talk about differences. And so we tried to prep the kids beforehand, okay guys, this might be a little bit different, talking about respect and politeness, and most of those kids had never actually interacted with a person who was deaf before. So it was really new for them. And she brought in all these gadgets. She could lip read, so she was able to speak, but it was obviously very different. So a lot of the kids, in the beginning, they were what did you bring? What is going on? And a lot of them were getting kind of really vocal about it. Or guys, we talked about this. What are you doing? So working them through that, and then finally, after kind of once we give them this platform to ask questions and teach them the polite ways or the appropriate ways to speak about these differences, we noticed it clicked. Suddenly the kids were listening in a way that they weren't listening before. And I remember so clearly there was this little boy whose name I can't remember, and it hurts my heart that I can't remember it right now. He was one of our kids with the most challenging behaviors. and the fact that he was able to leave that classroom as like the best signer who could sign his name by the end, like, and he was so proud. He was showing the whole class, and he felt comfortable asking all these questions that they had never had an opportunity to like have anybody listen to them before, and to have like these great informative questions and answers. It was just such a a beautiful moment to know that when we left that classroom, those kids, like, however it impacted them, who knows, but like they would be able to look back like 5 and however many decades and think like, oh, I remember when the Easter play, the Peace Games people came in and like we talked about that. And like who knows what might happen in the future, but just to think that for like that tiny moment we were able to make that kind of change or to like open their minds to that new experience, it was just like I had a class with like one of my teammates like right after that, and we were just like crying in the car. And it was just like such a lovely moment. So I was really excited because I also have to add this too. Before I did teacher play, I was a Jumpstart member. I was a team leader. Are there any Jumpstarts in here? Oh, what?
Reveal
Okay.
yourself.
Reveal, please. Okay, never mind. So I was. What?
I think we took a lot of time to do Jumpstart.
Oh.
Oh, all right. I was like, I didn't understand. I was a Jumpstart person, so when I first came to teacher play, I was kind of skeptical. I was like, okay, really, what's going into school each week, what games going to do in the long run? And like moments like that, it blew my mind. And I'm like, I suddenly was a teacher play believer, and I was like, this is beautiful. So I'm sold.
What grade was that then?
What?
What grade was that?
That was second grade. What grade are they in now? I don't know. I have to do the math.
Wait, what year was this?
September 2009. Ah! I think they are in middle school. God. Okay.
Anyone else have one thing or sure?
Okay,
Sure.
all right. Well, I'll tell 2 stories. And I'll try to keep them both quick. So, my mentor, while I was doing Peace Through Play, was a guy named Stephen Brian-Meisels. Really fantastic guy. Some of you probably heard me say this before, but I don't think we've said enough. He always talked to me specifically about a lot of things, but 2 things in the work that we were doing. One was about standing on shoulders, how there's been many, many generations of people doing this work, and we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us. From the giants of the work that are talked about through the ages to the second grade teacher, Mr. Carpenter. We stand on their shoulders and we do the work together. And he also talked about planting seeds. Because it's really hard, I think, to your question and some of the stories I'm going to tell, you don't always get to see what happens. It's long-term work. I mean, I'm learning this now. I'm 29 now, and at one point I was like, yeah, this is like, we're going to get this done. In the next 10 years, we're going to solve some things and call it a day. And now it's like it's really hard work. There's a lot of support that's needed for folks out there. A lot of injustice, and so planting seeds and taking the long view. And just being there with children and teaching them little things every day, even if you don't get to see the tree grow, because trees take a long time to grow, someday that tree will grow and you will have a part in watering it. So Stephen used to talk to me about those 2 things, and so I feel like I was super fortunate in some ways to get to see a little bit of those things come to fruition. So the first story is we're working at the Tobin School, and there's this group of 4th graders that the principal was just done with. They had been expelled a few times, and this is a little different than the model you do now, and I don't think anybody really did this, but back then I was just at some schools all the time doing the work, and the principal was like, I need you to take these 4th graders and do your Peace Game stuff then. The principal was not fully supportive of the program in our first year, and she was doing a lot of stuff, being a new principal and all that. It was probably hard for her. And so she's like, you can have them for once a week and do whatever you do with these games. And it's like, all right, so we'll try something out. And the first class, so there was like, I think, 7 or 8 4th graders. And I think the first class, it was me and a classroom teacher who, it was just their time to like grade papers and stuff. So it's kind of just me. And I think some of the kids ran out of the room and like left the school, and then I was feeling really like I was doing a terrible job because it's hard. And yeah, but we eventually tried to just listen to what they were. I just asked a lot of questions early on and tried to understand where they were coming from, what was going on. We were going to do a project together. I decided that was going to be the goal. I didn't know what it was. And these students were, once I started asking them some questions about who they were, where they're from, what they believe, what their life experiences were, they actually want to talk to somebody about it. And it was just trying to be there for them once a week. And so we would talk about some really deep stuff, and then sort of eventually bridged into some of the Peace Games, the community service project, and was trying to figure out what to do. And it took a couple weeks because I didn't know exactly what to do. But one of the students had actually opened up to the point where he said a friend had been shot the past summer, and that made him really angry, and made him, really angry at a lot of people in the school. And so his fellow peers, instead of all ragging on each other, making fun of each other, they were all empathized with them, which was really powerful. And they all decided together in that moment that they would do a project about gang violence. And so every week for the next, I think it was 6 or 7 weeks, we'd all get together and they'd brainstorm. I just let them direct as much as possible, give them a little bit of guidance, and they wanted to do an awareness building campaign for the community in Mission Hill about gang violence, talk to different business owners, etc., get their local representative a part of it. And they did this beautiful project. They videoed some of their stories. They put out a video to the school, and then they had their representative from Boston actually came in during the last class and talked to them about their issues and heard them out. And they brainstormed some ways in which they could do better with gang violence work in the city of Boston. And so I think the evolution of that is, these students who, were seen by even the principal as students that she didn't want to deal with anymore, being really smart, thoughtful, empathetic students, and really caring for each other and their community and wanting to do something about it. So that's always stuck with me really deeply. And one other is about a boy named Christopher. Some of you know this, and as I get a little bit older every year, my memory goes a little bit, which is a little weird. But basically, I was put in a second grade classroom with Christopher in Tobin School. I can still picture the classroom walking in the first day, and the classroom teacher was really struggling with classroom management. And students were running around, and she goes, and now it's Peace Games. And at the time, it was supposed to partner with the teacher and help us figure some stuff out. Who was I? I didn't know how to teach a classroom. She went to school for it. I was like, what's going on? Let's do this together. And she sat down, started grading papers. And she was like, thank God this guy is here. My co-teacher wasn't there that week, and it was the first week of scheduling stuff. And so I was trying to do some games and stuff, and I totally lost control of the class. The teacher had left at one point, went to the bathroom or something. She later quit teaching, like the next class I taught, but a little scary. She's not for everybody. A lot of patience and understanding. But Christopher comes in because I lost control of the classroom. I'm an under-equipped college student. You guys did way better job than we did back then, teaching, preparing you all. And at one point, there were people, all the students were standing on desks, wrestling and stuff. And then I turn around, and I just remember this picture of Christopher climbing up onto the desk and standing up, and there were 5 students, and he just body slams them all off the desk, and takes them all down. I was like, oh man, it's been a long road from, but he's on the right track, right games, wrestle, I don't know, it's all there somewhere. And so it was my mission from that day to have that class get into Peace Games, Peace Through Play, and really improve their ability to interact with each other in positive ways, playing games together. And so we worked together for the entire year. Spent some extra time here and there with students, just Christopher included, trying to help them understand what it means to be a peacemaker and what that means for their school. Yeah, that was it, right? So that was my first year doing Peace Through Play, and I was like, cool. And I taught a lot of other classes, did a lot of other things. And on one of my last days in 2009, when I was graduating, one of my last trips to the Tobin School, I said bye to a lot of the teachers. It was a really emotional moment for me, and I sort of left the school and I was walking out, and I was sort of contemplating like, how much did we, like, it was hard to understand, quantify what we had done there. And I kid you not, in this moment, Christopher comes over to the fence. They were playing with recess during lunch, and he goes, Mr. Alex, like, come here. I was like, oh, hey, Christopher, you look a lot bigger than you did the last time, 3 years later. He's like, Mr. Alex, like, I got some things to tell you. I was like, cool, Christopher, tell me all about it. And Christopher, as you can probably imagine, wasn't getting very good grades in 2nd grade, or 3rd grade, or 4th grade. Really struggling, but in 5th grade, where he was now, he wanted to tell me all about his grades. He was getting A's and B's. He was a top student. He was really doing it. He was making a lot of friends. And he goes, and Mr. Alex, you want to know what? I'm really being a peacemaker now. All of this can be. He's like, this is because I'm a peacemaker now. And for me, that transformation from something that happened 3 years prior, I didn't work with him in the years since, was really, really powerful. So.
And then the body slam someone.
No, I think he was like a lunch mediator, monitor. Christopher, he's probably like going to win a Nobel Peace Prize someday. Work for him.
Anyone else want to share? More questions?
Do you remember any like major issues you ran into while you were in teacher play and how you kind of resolved it?
I can talk a little bit. So mine's not as much like a specific challenge facing the classroom, but kind of me looking at how I evolved over the years from being a sophomore to being a senior. I was really bad at pieces play for like a year and a half. Like I would just kind of go and like really not say much, like really not be involved at all, to be honest. And then I got to the point where I'm getting a lot of it, and then I got like the one like kind of like I need to step it up, like literally. But then like once you do it, it's so easy. Like you just have to go in, you need to be confident, which I think a lot of us struggle with, especially going into college, and just be yourself. Like you don't necessarily have to be that like peppy, energetic, like stereotypical kind of person who works with children, which like I kind of thought I had to be. But now I've kind of learned like if I am myself and I bring my own personality to the classroom, the kids respond a lot better to that. So I just think being genuine in everything you do with them is
I got one more on this is in a school, but you guys still work with like school personnel and stuff, right? Yeah, cool. So, when I first started at the Tobin School, how many of you work in schools actually? Raise your hand. Wow, that's amazing. And how many of you are doing work on campus? Awesome. Good stuff. So we were building partnerships with schools at that time, and the first day I walked in the Tobin School, I introduced myself to one of the teachers, first teacher I saw, and her name was Mrs. Cohen, and like, hey, Mrs. Nice to meet you. I'm Alex. We're going to be running the Peace Games. We're going to be running the Peace Games program this year. We're just really excited to begin working with you. And she goes, oh, like deadpan. She's probably like maybe 65 at the time, like short lady, kind of the grandmother type style. And she goes, I thought you guys were done. I was like, whoa. I was like laughing on his face. I was expecting everybody to be like, Peace Games, yeah, we're going to like, you guys are the best. And so, but by the end of my 3 years there, Mrs. Cohen was our person who advocated to the administration of the school, the principals, would work with every other teacher to rally them around what we were doing there. And I learned a good lesson in listening and persistence. I realized very quickly that a lot of the staff and school teachers at the school didn't know who we were. Not all of them didn't like us, but you know, they all were like, yeah, Peace Games, whatever. I get great papers during this time. And you know, if you show up and you listen to them, you talk to them, you say hello, you remember some of their names. You don't remember some of their names, and then you joke about it later. You just show up every day or every week, and you build a relationship. And over time, to the planting seeds, people, you know, like if you're, you know, giving good good energy to them, they're going to give it right back. And so over 3 years, Mrs. Cohen and actually a group of teachers at the school really advocated for the work that we were doing and really were our biggest supporters. And so, yeah, just a lot of listening, not piece game stuff. Just like, how's their school day? How's their life? How's their week? Being people, you know, like we're all humans. So just like giving them a chance to, you know, be human with you at school. Yeah.
Is there time for maybe one more question for you for the breakout?
As someone who's been in Peace Play for only 2 semesters, do you have any tips for someone like me going forward?
Keep doing it.
I would just say that there's so much that you can take from it in so many different aspects. So like find what you love and like even if it's just little pieces here and there or like a moment or like a lesson here, just take it.
I would say for anyone who you haven't met in the room yet, meet them because the cream of the crop at Northeastern is here. So that goes for everyone. Like, it's so easy. You're like, hey, I know you, I'll sit next to you. And so much what you do through the games is meet each other, but keep doing that because you all are the best.
I second that. Like, sit next to somebody else next week that you've never met and learn about where they're from and what they're up to. Like, that's life, right? I know the people that I did that to now, I like still pick up the phone and call and we have a good time, you know? It's life is people, so it's a great opportunity for it.
Maybe we could sorry.
So you've done this 2 semesters? If this is for you, awesome, keep doing it. Like there's probably other cool stuff to be doing. Social justice stuff, it's the work. It's what needs to happen in this world. Like there's not enough love, there's not enough compassion, there's not enough support for people and each other. There's not enough listening, not enough play. And there's a real moment here, and I believe it now still, seeing you here, you remind me of it, that you can show up and do this work, and you can choose that, and that's really powerful, showing up and being here and making that choice. And if you're choosing to do it in a different way, that's awesome too. And with that, find like this lifelong journey, find what it is you care about, what you're passionate about. I actually am not like, we have awesome education people here on aging, and that's not me. I'm gonna work with plants someday. I want to be a farmer, you know. So it's not for everybody. So find, enjoy this, do the work, do the hard work, and also find what it is you like and what you're good at, and show up to that meeting too. And if that's more for you, then do that. That's important. It's really hard to be honest with yourself and realize what it is you're good at and what it is you want to do. And sometimes it takes until you're 29 to own up to it. So yeah, do that and sit next to somebody at Julie's point and learn who they are. Yeah.
Maybe if you can, I don't know if each of you has in 1 to 2 sentences one piece of advice for everyone, or one, if you could know one thing, see where they are now, what would you say?
Learn that hurts.
Yeah, sorry, that's a lot to think about. I realize I just threw that at you.
Actually, I can go ahead and add one. I got my co-op job, my second co-op job, which is where I still work, and this is now my 5th year. I got that job because they saw Peace Play on my resume. Because of the skills that you've created here, that you've developed, don't take anything for granted. Put it on your resume, even if you have to put it on the volunteer aspect, but this is like a position. Quantify the skills that you've got, list them, label them, identify them, be proud of them, be prepared to talk about them, because it might get you a job.
I guess my bit of advice is it's never too late to find your passion. This is what Alex was just talking about. So I graduated with international business degree, and I'm just like, what am I going to do? Because I do not want to work in an office at an international company, although that's what my major says I have to do. So at some point you have to look in the mirror and really make a hard decision and say, you got to be true to yourself, and you got to do what's going to make you happy long term. And really, it's about finding what your passion is and just going for it.
I would say be less afraid. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Try to step outside of the comfort zone that they're
Like I said before. I think I'll just share something that I am trying to do more often these days, and you can choose to adopt it with me, and we'll carry this forward in the world or not, and that's fine. But I think thanking people, again, including the wonderful people in this room, including classroom teachers that you work with, including students, including the frickin' amazing board, Mackenzie and everyone else in this room, to just thank people the way the way it feels good for you to be thanked too. I think that feels good for people, and I think that it's important to keep people, and thanks are not necessary, but I think that they do feel good. So I think thanking people is good. I think also, like I said, taking these skills that you now have, and Alex, for instance, he's totally into the farming thing. He's serious. Like, this is what he wants to do. I'm totally into the aging thing. I think older adults are amazing. And I think aging is one of the most fascinating fields that you can be in and that you can do in the world. It's incredible. So, and you might be into, like, whatever you're into. And that's good. So take these skills that you've been learning and apply them there. So that, again, the goal is to be connecting people across differences. The goal is to be engaging people in what you think is amazing and what's going to change the world and make the world a better place. But these things don't have to be separate. They can have an intersection, and you can make that happen.
I'm like terrible at being short, so I don't think I could ever say 2 sentences about anything, which is bad. I think that there are literally, like, today's Monday. You want to know how many games? Guess how many games happened in my office today? This many games. You know what I need to do tomorrow? I need to go and have some games with people tomorrow, because you guys are awesome and still doing it, and sometimes you forget that there's not enough games in this world. And the joy it brings out in people. I think the fact that you showed up on Monday night, and you show up on Monday nights, and then you show up in the schools is like the coolest thing to me. Like, that is amazing. That is life changing. People talk about changing the world. I've talked about changing the world. At college you can talk about changing the world. World change happens one game at a time. One time you show up on Monday night, connect to somebody else. World change happens by showing up and being there and listening to students and making mistakes in the classroom and learning from them and finding your passion. It's really about being there and taking the very small steps that it feels like some weeks it's like, what is this adding up to? It's about planting the seeds. So the fact that you guys are here doing this and that you're going to be here next Monday, unless that's Thanksgiving break, being here is half of doing it. Half of work is for change showing up, and you guys are doing that. So keep listening to each other, keep learning, and keep taking that next small step for the children you work with, because I swear, like, the seeds you're planting now are going to make a huge difference in students' lives as they grow up and become older students and adults. And the next generation of people sitting in these seats that you'll be talking to, they're going to be standing on your shoulders. So keep doing it.